Welcome to the Way Up Podcast with your host, Geoff Knoll. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, Jay Tiegs. Jay is a retired Army veteran, host of the Do Hard Things podcast, a certified high-performance coach, running coach, founder of the Forge Mastermind group, and the creator of Do Hard Things apparel. Jay coaches others how to live a better life by doing hard things. The Way Up podcast is sponsored by me. I'm a real estate broker in the state of Missouri, and I believe that this message is worth my investment. Hang with us till the end. I know you won't be disappointed. Hey, I am so excited to be here with my friend Jay Tiegs. I've gotten to know Jay over the last, I guess, year and a half, and we're going to get into how that happened. But Jay, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, I'm excited to be here. Who am I? Well, man, I got so many irons in the fire. How do I describe myself? I am a recently transitioned veteran. I spent 27 years in the U.S. Army. I am now a leadership development coach and trainer. I'm a performance coach. I also do some running coaching. At the end of the day, I mean, I just help people try to live a better life by, doing hard things. That's my mantra. Do hard things. I also own the Do Hard Things apparel. You got right there, an events company, and it's all about challenging people to just push themselves so they can live a better life and ultimately be a better role model for society. I'm a father of, I've got triplet daughters. I am remarried, and my wife Lacey has two children. So we have 5 teenagers in the house right now. And yeah, man, I'm a traveler. I don't know. I do all sorts of things, man. I'm everywhere.
So what is something that people that know you probably don't know about you?
Oh, they don't know about me. Well, I go by the name Jay, but I think a lot of people don't know that I named myself. I was born as Siegfried Tiegs. I didn't have a middle name. And earlier in my life, I named myself Jay, and it's stuck ever since. So that's something uncommon.
Nice. That's awesome. Very
You don't
cool.
you don't have to live by life's rules, right? So I'm a rule breaker. I just do my own thing, pave my own way.
You're an adult. You can do what you want now, man. Grown up.
Yeah.
So I came to know Jay through, he has a mastermind group called The Forge. We have a mutual friend that I was seeing him popping up in my news feed on Facebook, seeing some of his different stuff. And your name was brought up whenever I'm talking to one of my friends, and she says, you should meet my friend Jay. You're on this personal development. You're really trying to improve your life. And he has a group that may be beneficial for you called The Forge. And so that was the first connection. I reached out. We talked a little bit, and I decided to give it a try. It was the first paid group that I've ever joined of that kind of thing. It was a mastermind group, but you read about them. I read about it. Like all these successful people, they're like, hire a coach, get somebody that is doing something at a level that you want to do, and do that. So that was my connection to Jay. And I will absolutely say that the Forge has been extremely instrumental in a lot of my growth and a lot of my development. I have learned a lot. I've gotten a lot of great ideas and made some great networking connections, even just within that group. There's a lot of power inside that. So tell us a little bit about The Forge. What got you there? What made you start that?
Yeah, the Forge is it's like you said, it's a mastermind group. It's for people that are on the path of personal growth and development. And I would say it's probably a beginner level type group. It's usually people when they join, it's their very first group. How did it start? Well, I would say about 10 years ago, serving in the military, I had a really good career, but I had some childhood trauma. I had some trauma from the military. I got to a really dark place in life. I came from a broken home, and I just had a lot of demons that I had to sort out. And I got to a low point where I wanted to end my life. And I'm like, okay, I've got to rewire how I'm operating. I've got 3 daughters that are counting on me. I've got a really good career going, but I'm just miserable. Like I'm just suffering in silence. Like there's just something wrong with me. I just found myself just incredibly miserable, unhappy, disconnected. And in that process of like, okay, I needed to go back and address my demons. So I got myself in therapy, and, therapy, you go back in time and you deal with those things. But I also found, I also started to look at how are some people so incredibly successful and they're so doggone happy? Like I want that in my life and I deserve that, right? So what do I need to do? Because I'm not tapping out. My daughters need me. And I don't know. I just started like just doing an inventory of all the people that I respected and admired, both in the military and outside the military. And I noticed a common thread. They were all voracious readers. They were all, they most of them were part of a group or some type of mastermind or just connected with other like-minded people. And so I had to, and I wasn't much of a reader. I mean, I'd been to college and I had a couple degrees, but the only time I read was because it was tied to a grade. I didn't really do a lot of reading outside my own. But I had a really good friend and mentor give me the book, The Slight Edge by Geoff Olson. And it just talked about, that book was perfect for that time because it talked about, what's the difference between people that are highly successful and very happy versus those that aren't. It's the slight little differences that you do on a daily basis that can transform your life. It's that 1% edge. And over a period of time, that compounding interest is transformative. And so I started with that book, and it was something, one of the big takeaways from that book is just, if you read 10 pages a day, it'll fundamentally transform your life because it's something that's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. But if you do it and you do it repeatedly, it will transform your life. And I'll tell you that positive psychology and that little disciplined habit, transformed my mindset. I credit a lot of my rebound, if you will, from being at rock bottom to where I'm at now from one of those little habits from reading. And so, one book led to another and I became just wiser. It gave me more tools. And I also looked at, what are some of the things I appreciate about the military? Well, I really appreciated mentorship. I really appreciated leadership development. I was really good at it. And I always thought, life coaching, that's hokey. That's for, I don't know you always see most, if you Google life coaching, it's usually a woman there with her coffee cup. I'm like, that's not for me. And, but I was wrong because later I found some group of like-minded people. I reluctantly joined my first group. So I'm like, I'm going to pay to be in a Facebook group. Like that sounds silly. And I wrung my hand over that for a couple months actually, before I finally did it. Completely transform my life. Cause you can read and listen to podcasts on your own, but when you actually get connected with other growth-minded people, and there's like a center leader, and there's like, you have everyone's reading the same book and you're like rowing in the same direction, and you can have a place where you can like really talk about like real life, man, it fundamentally transformed my life. And over the years, I had joined a couple of these different groups. Some of them were men's groups, some of them were co-ed, some of them were business related, but just a variety of different groups. And it made such an impact on me. I'm like, you know what? I think I can do this myself. I just felt called to go. I went to an event. One of my mentors is Brendan Burchard, and he's wrote a numerous New York Times bestselling books. And I went to one of his. This is right before COVID. He had his big event down in San Diego, 3-day event called High Performance HPX, High Performance Experience. And at the very end of that, he basically had a call to action, like, "Hey, if you'd like to become one of my coaches, this is the pathway to do that." And I was like, man, I was there with my wife, and I was like, man, I really feel called to do this. And I wasn't going there expecting to do that, but I'm like, I really feel called to do this. And so I prayed about it. I don't know, I talked to some other coaches there, and it was a big investment. I mean, it was a 5-figure sum. So it was like, like a college degree. I'm like, man, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go all in and do this. And, yeah, I've been hitting the ground running ever since then. I got certified as a high performance coach. And when I think of high performance, like, what is that? It's leadership training. It's really how to lead yourself better. And, I've picked up a couple other certifications along the way, and I've been coaching one-on-one. I started the Forge to help other people. And, and teach at a university, and I'm teaching, basically a lot of these same principles that I've learned. So that's been kind of like my path in my journey. And I truly feel that people, especially in this day and age, people need a tribe of like-minded. If you're of growth mindset, and you need to have, only 1 in 10 people are actively pursuing personal growth and development, that are actively reading and working on themselves. Well, you amplify that by an order of magnitude by joining a group. And we need groups. There's not that many out there. I mean, you have to kind of go out of your way to search these things. But if you join one, it's very transformative.
Yeah, a lot of the things that you are talking about really resonate with me. Your hesitation to get into the a paid group, that was for me. I was nervous to even say it to my wife out loud. I was like, she's gonna think I'm crazy. She's gonna think I'm crazy. I felt like I wanted to give it a try, and so I presented it as, I'm gonna try this for a month. If I feel as though I get value from it, I'll keep going. If not, then I've wasted money on all kinds of dumb stuff. What's this small nominal amount of money for a month? We're going to try it. There's no commitment bigger than that. So I tried that. That was huge. Other thing, you talk about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. The power of that is incredible. I was searching for something like that, because in all of these books that you read, they say you are like the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Your bank account will directly reflect what the company that you keep. There is, I'm trying to think of the phrase, power in, what is it? I can't think of it. Oh, well.
The power, I'm trying to think what you might be.
Power in proximity.
Yes.
Proximity.
Yeah.
It matters who you rub elbows with, who you are spending your time with, and hearing them, whether you have complainers in your life that are griping and blaming everybody else for everything that's happening, or if you have people that are saying, hey, I'm doing this and this is working, try this, or we have this idea, you should maybe enter this group. I mean, you called me up and said, hey, Nadine in the group reached out and said about this Leadership Pulaski County group. That was huge. That was a huge connection. I learned a lot. I've made a lot of business connections, but a lot of like just friendship connections out of that as well. But that's just something that I wouldn't have if I wasn't in that situation. I wasn't putting myself out there, because it is a commitment. There's time. People they don't always want to go add something to their week, a meeting. They don't want to read books. It's easier to sit and scroll on Netflix, but
yeah,
you can do this if you want to improve your life. There's just simple things. It's just having that consistency and that discipline to get in and do it over and over and over again.
Absolutely. There's 3 lives that people can lead and fall into one of these camps. The caged life, and this is the person that's just really struggling. Maybe they've got some past demons. They've got those internal and external influences, maybe some trauma, some depression. Maybe they're just struggling financially. Maybe they're struggling with their health, but they're just really just struggling to get through the day. That's the caged life. Then you have the comfortable life. And that's for, I think most people, especially in our society, fall into this comfortable life. They get the 9 to 5 that pays well. They get the nice car. You can grab your cell phone here and you got endless entertainment. You could dial up and have someone deliver a hot meal via DoorDash in like 15 minutes. Completely comfortable. We live a fantastic, wonderful life. But then you have people that are they get comfortable and they're like, you know what, there's got to be something more to this, right? There's got to be something. I just want to feel more vibrant. I want to have more abundance. I just want to live and have more experiences. And the people that are living the charged life, these are the people that are incredibly successful, both financially and like with their happiness. They're just getting the most out of life. That's the case for joining a group like a mastermind group, is so you can get around other people that are trying to get to that charged life, that they know that there's a greater sense of experience and a greater sense of contribution in the world than just the day to day. And that's what it's all about, connecting with those other people, because that group of charged individuals, it's a very, very small population. And the journey to get there, I mean, I'm a work in progress. Like I lead the group, but I don't have all the answers. I have a lot of knowledge. Like I geek out on personal growth and development, but it's very selfish in nature. I'm still on this journey, and I still struggle. Like I was talking last night in the group, and I'm fully transparent. Like last week was a bad week for me. Like in my own mind, I struggle with my own mindset. I have my own insecurities. I have my own feelings of imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to have a podcast and help other people? And, because I feel like I don't have it all figured out. But that's just the human dynamic. I have known other coaches and trainers that tried to put their best foot forward and live this squeaky clean life and just be like this oracle. And when you put people up on a pedestal, that's dangerous, because what's happened time and time again, these people that I've looked up to, they've got a flaw. Something had come out that, I have one of my favorite coaches that was incredibly inspirational. One of the people who's been on my podcast, and I probably inspired me to start a podcast, is leading a very large men's movement and has a top podcast teaching men to be better and be good husbands and all that. And he recently came out, he's an alcoholic and getting a divorce, and like out of nowhere. I'm like, you got to be careful about, like, humans, or we have the common theme among all people that I have found in my life is that we all have struggle and challenge. All of us, every single one of us. And we have our flaws and we have our demons. But, I'm doing the best I can to put my best foot forward. And this is, leading a group inspires me to show up as my best self and to continue to help people. And I get support from others as well. I learned something from every one of our sessions and our calls. And I just feel like I'm just a constant student, and it inspires me and it helps me out. So I say all that to, I guess, just say that I don't have it all figured out. I'm on this journey just along with everyone else in the group. But I do, as I study these frameworks and tactics, I bring it into the group and let people take what works for them. And it's been pretty awesome.
So what is something that you can identify from your life that has positioned you to be successful? If you can narrow it down to one or two things, what is something that you can identify to say, this has positioned me to level up?
Just having grit. Like if I get my mindset, like I'm going to accomplish this thing, I can persevere. Like I am not incredibly intelligent. Like naturally, like I got to work really hard. And through my time in the military, I joined the military because I was leaving a broken home, and I wanted to join the military to make a way for myself. And I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm going to go to college, right? Well, what I learned is in the military, if you want rank advancement, you're going to have to go to college. And so I started taking classes, and I'm like, okay, I learned the power of grit through running cross country in high school. Going back to my broken home, I mean, I lived in Clarksville, Missouri, which is just north of St. Louis, about an hour on the river. We had nothing. Like I literally came from nothing. And it was a cross country coach. I was the paper boy in town, and Clarksville's like it's the highest point on the Mississippi River. So a huge hill. And 12 years old, I'm riding probably one of the last newspaper boys that you'll ever hear about, because they shut it down not long after me, or they quit doing it as far as paper boys on bicycles. So, but for 6 days a week, I would, after school, I would go and, sling newspapers for money. And on Saturday mornings, I'd get up and do that. And I would mow yards. But because of that hill every day and riding my bike all year round, I got really good endurance. And the cross country coach came in town and he invited me out to cross country. I'm like, well, I don't even know what cross country is. It's like, we go out, we race other teams in these cornfields, and like, okay, if you can bring me, because my parents aren't going to take me, I'll show up. So he takes me. I show up with my Reebok pumps that I proudly bought with my lawnmower money, and then some basketball shorts. And I did really good at practice. Like I hung with them, and I liked it. It was the first time that I had a coach in my life that actually looked out for me. I was with some of the cooler kids. I knew that was going to be a good influence for me. And so I started showing up, and I was actually really good at running. And it was and running is hard. It requires tremendous grit and discipline. Well, I won a bunch of accolades. Our team did well competing throughout the sports in high school. That's what motivated me to keep my grades up. And that's what ultimately helped me bridge the gap into the military. And it was that grit and discipline which enabled me to have a good military career. It's what enabled me to pursue my, earn my bachelor degree. I picked up one master's and I earned another master's. I had become a sergeant first class in the Army, and I decided to commission as I went to officer candidate school, became an engineer officer. And that grit and discipline really opened up a lot of doors of opportunity for me. And if I could lean in on anything, it's that hard work and just showing up and having that growth mindset combined with grit it enables success. And that's what I talk about. And that's where the mantra "do hard things" comes from, because if you lean in on the things that are hard with consistency, you're going to have a breakthrough in your life.
Yeah, it makes me think of Les Brown, one of the motivational speakers. I've listened to lots and lots of his content. He says, if you do what is easy, your life will be hard. If you do what is hard, your life will be easy. And it's true. It's 100% true that if you are putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, that's where the growth happens. Diamonds are made under severe pressure. You want to see the best things in life. It's going to take effort. It's going to take work, and it is hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and you get to choose your hard.
Yeah.
And hard, from the phrase "do hard things," the hard actually has meaning. It's the 4 major lines of effort in your life. And you should be doing something every day to make yourself 1% better in these areas. It's your health and wellness. That's the H. Affluence and wealth. Your money is freedom, relationships, and then your development. Like, how are you growing? And if you lean on those 4 areas every day and do the hard thing, right? Get out of bed and go do the workout. It's not easy to budget and say no to the drive-through and save money. It's not, relationships can be tough. Sometimes you have to have a tough conversation. Sometimes you have to go out of your way to pour and deposit into your significant other's, you got to invest in their love language in that account, right? It's not easy to develop and learn something new, but if you put yourself out there each and every day, it's that getting that 1% better in those 4 lines of effort. It will vastly improve your life.
Yeah. What would be a challenge that you said that you have faced that made you want to throw in the towel, and what was it that you leaned on to get you through that time?
I almost threw the towel in on life.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. I'll hit on that one just real quick. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but when I was facing divorce, and I was just miserable in my career. The military was something that I wanted to pursue, but even after time, I just felt like the work that I was doing as an officer at that point in time wasn't as fulfilling. It was incredibly stressful as you go up in rank, new levels, new devils. And I just felt incredibly unfulfilled. I had made some poor financial mistakes, so I was kind of stressed out there. And I just wasn't very happy. And I had other people around me take their life. It's not uncommon in this world, and unfortunately in our military. And when you're around that, like it amplifies it. How do I say this? Being around suicide amplifies the propensity to commit suicide. And I had a plan. I had a plan to take my 45 down the back of my house, and I would think about it all the time. I think about it constantly. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I can't. But the pain was just like, there was no way out. I just felt stuck. And that was when I had to make the commitment, like, something has got to change. And I came up in a time where you didn't ask for help. Like, asking for help was a sign of weakness. And I thought that with my grit and discipline mindset, like, well, that's pretty weak to do that. But I knew that something had to change because I was at rock bottom. And so, I think the first time asking for help and going to, I went to therapy for the first time. I found my pastor, and I broke down in front of my pastor and told him, like what I was thinking and all the things I was dealing with. And that was the first time, and it felt like a big release. But there's a lot of work that had to be done. And I rolled up my sleeves and I got to work on rewiring myself because I had to. I just couldn't live that way anymore. So that was one instance where, I nearly threw in the towel, for good. So
would you say talking to your pastor or talking to counselors was something that helped you get through that moment, just kind of unpacking what you were dealing with?
It felt good to get it off my chest, but I just felt weak and I felt like embarrassed. And they had to kind of walk me through that. And I had to learn that that's actually a sign of strength and not weakness. I had to change my belief around that. And Geoff, you've heard me talk a lot about beliefs. Your beliefs are what that your beliefs affect how you feel about things. That's what affects your actions, and your actions lead to your results. If you don't change your beliefs about things, or that's the root of everything. And I had this belief that if I sought help, that I was somehow weak, that I was a weak man, that I was a weak officer and leader in the military, that I was just weak to my, just a weak husband. Every role that I had, like I was weak because that's what I just believed. And I had to change my belief system that, asking for help is actually a sign of strength. And I had to learn that. And once I changed my belief, it's not, that made it easy for me to go seek other counselors and seek out help for other things that I was struggling with in my life, and not be embarrassed about, paying money to go join like a life coaching group, right? Because I had all these, like I said before, I believe that even life coaching was like woo-woo or something that sissies do. I mean, I believe that yoga for the longest time was woo-woo or not manly. I'm a soldier in the Army. We don't do yoga, right? That's nonsense. When I started doing yoga as an endurance athlete, man, it enabled me to start running ultra endurance events. It's a critical component of my training now. And so it all goes back to your beliefs, and it's these external and internal influences from throughout your life. And when you tackle those, man, and I tell you what, it can really open up a door of opportunity for you.
Yeah. Believing something different is okay. I've struggled with that too, feeling like it's weakness to talk about things. I know something, even still, if I cry, because I'm a very emotionally connected person, if I have a tear well up in my eye, I'm not looking anybody in the eyes. I don't want them to see me cry. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel like a big wiener. I don't like it whatsoever. But it's just a limiting belief. It's okay to be connected to your emotion. It's okay that a tear comes out. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that I'm weak. It doesn't. But the same thing, just talking about things that you deal with, your problems. Everybody is okay talking about, oh, I'm so great at this. I do this. They're more comfortable with that, but they hide and they don't say out loud the things that they really struggle with that hold them back. So
I had a one-on-one client one time, and this is common for a lot of people. They're struggling with their weight, right? So she's in her 40s. She's, gained, she'd like to lose about 30 pounds, constantly on this cycle of starting workouts, quitting workouts. New Year's comes around, like a lot of people do. New year, new me, right? And then fizzles out. Cannot stick with any type of training plan, like so many people. And so what's the belief and what's the result? Well, the belief is that I'm overweight, and starting to believe that, maybe it's just genetics, right? And just angry that she can't go back 20 years and be her old self. And that's leading to negative thoughts, and the actions are this inconsistent training plan, not seeking help, which is leading to her current results. And then, so we peel back the onion on this belief a little bit. And there's what I've noticed with people, there's usually numerous layers of beliefs. Well, the second belief was, I'm like, well, why don't you hire a coach or a trainer? Well, I just believe that, I shouldn't spend money on myself. And she couldn't spend money like to get her hair done or nails because everyone else comes first. I got to take care of my kids. I got to take care of my family. I'm not good enough to spend money on myself. And we uncovered the next belief on top of that. And the belief was that asking for help or doing things, for myself or having someone else do them for me is a sign of weakness. And so we had to break through like 3 different layers of beliefs to get the health and wellness one cracked. And that's common for a lot of people. Usually it's layered on top of each other. These limiting beliefs are layered and it keeps us stuck. And you got to break through each one of those to get down to the root cause and work through each one of those in order to get the significant change in your life. And a lot of times we don't even realize that we have these things layered on top of us, but I've gotten really good, as a performance coach to really kind of, nail these things down. And when we can connect the dots on them and really start working on them, that's where people have their biggest breakthrough.
Yeah. To add on what you said, the self-care being so important of people, they are worried about spending money on themselves or doing something, taking time away from their family to take care of themselves. But I had somebody just recently give me the analogy that whenever you're on an airplane and they are doing their opening spiel, waiting for it to take off, they tell you if the oxygen mask falls from the ceiling, be sure to put yours on first so you can take care of someone else. If you are not putting your self-care ahead of other people, you have to do that. You're not going to be able to properly take care of them. You're not going to have the oxygen that you need. You're not going to have the energy that you need to sustain yourself to take care of them and do your best for them. So self-care really is the best thing that you can do for other people in your life.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're not showing up as your best self for everyone that relies on you. And it comes from a place of goodness and love. We do it because we want to sacrifice ourselves and give to everyone else. But we do that at our own detriment. And what we fail to realize is that when you do that long enough, you're not the best version of yourself. And you're pouring from an empty cup. And that can leave you feeling miserable and unhappy. And like I said, they're not getting the best version of you. So although it feels selfish to take care of yourself, it's critical for you. And what are you showing, how are you demonstrating cutting corners on yourself in front of those that rely on you? Your kids look up to you and you're cutting the corner. No, you need to show them that, these things are important and this is why. And it's okay. And it doesn't really even take that much time or resources to really do it. But it's important. And when people finally make that shift, they start living a better life. They're happier. And their relationships get stronger. They start getting healthier. They start putting more money in the bank. Like all the things that they want start to happen. And so it's important.
Yeah, very much so. Do you have any questions for me that you think would be helpful to instigate some thought amongst listeners?
Yeah. So what was the catalyst for your change? Because here's the deal. You still come on our calls, you got the Zoom photo, and I can't even recognize you. And I don't know that Geoff. The Geoff that I know is the one that's been all in on personal growth and development, out there getting after it, running and doing all that. You're starting a podcast, which is awesome. What was the catalyst for you to be like, you know what? I need to change. And, this is why.
Yeah. I mean, I think my big eye-opening realization was I was sick. I was in the hospital. I was on the oncology floor in the hospital for 4 days with them doing tests on me. And I'm looking around wondering, why the hell am I on the oncology floor? Like, what do people know that I don't know? So it's still COVID restrictions in the hospital. And I'm laying in this bed by myself. My wife comes for a couple hours a day, but she still has responsibilities to take care of, taking care of my son, working. And I'm laying there thinking about all of the what ifs of what if I have lymphoma or leukemia, like they were saying was a possibility. And what if I don't make it through this? I had a $500,000 life insurance policy that was my security blanket, but I'm looking around the hospital and thinking of all the expenses. I'm like, man, this is going to be gone. I'm not going to have anything to leave for my family. And I'm thinking about all of the things that I have talked about wanting to do with my son and my wife, all these big plans that I have, and I haven't accomplished anything. I haven't really done anything of value. I haven't taught my son how to drive. I haven't got to teach my things. I feel like as a parent, the most important thing that you can do is teach your children how to be successful in life and how to function, how to get out and be a contributing member of society, not just pay taxes, but to actually get out and thrive in life. And I hadn't done that. My son had watched me struggle, and I want him to see me win. So I'm laying there and I'm like, man, this is awful. This is awful. I'm just trying to stay as positive as possible, not getting inside my head too much. But I just decided whenever I came home that they did the test came back negative, that I don't have cancer. I don't have lymphoma, leukemia. And I decided then I've got to take control of the things that I can control. At the time I went into the hospital, I had lost some weight, but I had been 300 pounds some months prior to that. So well overweight. I come home, I'm on prednisone, which spikes my blood sugar. So I had adjusted my diet. Hospital didn't do that. They would rather put you on medication than have you adjust your diet and take care of your health the way that you should, which that was a little bit off-putting to me. But I decided I've got to take control of what I can, whether being overweight had anything to do with what happened physically or not. It didn't matter. It was going to be a cause for issues regardless down the road. Diabetes, heart disease, all kinds of things happen from being overweight. So I wanted to take that into my own hands, and I started working out. I started eating healthy. And before you know it, you start one good habit and it starts to domino effect. You're like, okay, well, I'm starting to get some results. I'm feeling better. I have more energy. So I'm reading. I'm like, okay, I'm start pumping all this information into my head so that I can, keep getting better. And I started writing out my goals and focusing on my goals. And this is what do I want to accomplish? And when you put effort into where you want to be, you start to see that your trajectory changes and you start headed that way. So, and in that, it was within a few months of all of that I met you, and I got into the Forge, and the Forge was part of that. That was part of my leveling up, which is a continual journey. I'm still on the journey. I plan on always being on the journey. I want to get better. No matter where you are, whatever level you're at, you can do more. You can be better. I am really close on time. What is a final thought that you would leave my listeners with, Jay?
If you're listening to this, you're someone that values personal growth and development, get yourself in a group. It doesn't have to be my group. We would welcome that. But find yourself a group, because if you're spending the time here doing this, you want to amplify to the next level, get connected, invest in yourself, take the next step. Every dollar that I've spent in personal growth and development has come back to me tenfold, without a shadow of a doubt. And that's what the world's most high-performing people do, the wealthiest, the richest. They look at coaching and they get that group support. They look at it like paying the bills, like the utility bill. So that would be my final thought. Get connected.
Get connected. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.